Lauren, thank you. Fresno State has made it official. They have hired a new head football coach.
Today, the university announcing it has hired Matt Entz to be the 23rd head coach in program history. A press conference to introduce him is scheduled for tomorrow at 10 in the morning. Entz spent this past season as an assistant at USC. Before that, he had tremendous success at North Dakota State, where he won 2 FCS national titles in his 5 years there. With more on this hire, let's throw things over to sports director Scott Bemis with a special guest.
Yeah, thanks, guys. Joined now by Fresno State insider Jackson Moore of Barkboard.com. And Jackson, let's get right to it. Your reaction to the hiring of Matt Entz?
I mean, looks like a solid hire so far. You can't argue with 60-11 as a head coach and 2 national championships. I mean, if Fresno State is anywhere as successful as these guys were in the green and yellow with him coaching, it's going to be a fun ride. So he spent a year at USC, got to lay the land a little bit at the top level, and hopefully he's ready to take on this job.
All right, we had heard a couple names in there. Obviously, Tim Skipper's name was in there. Coach Vegan from Montana State was in there. He was more of an offensive guy. What put Entz over the top?
Yeah, if they weren't going to keep Tim Skipper, which was it was up in the air for a while, even after the 6-6 record, they really wanted someone with head coaching experience. Pretty much all other candidates were out the window, and there's only so many options. You've got guys that had a lot of success at the FCS level, or maybe some former coaches from the Power 4 level that kind of coming back down. And it came down to him and Vegan, I believe. I think just Coach Entz, he was more all in on the job and really won over Garrett Classy and President Saul to kind of get their confidence for the job.
All right, now not everybody is completely, I think, happy with this hire at this point. There has been some backlash from some Bulldog alums, former players, and the current players, obviously. Let me run a quick soundbite from a phone conversation I had with former Bulldog player Steven Comstock earlier tonight. He thinks Entz could be a good coach, but he's concerned about him using it as a stepping stone.
Just going to be the same story where he used this as a stepping stone. Look at Coach DeBoer, who's now has played for a national championship, is now at Alabama. We've kind of seen this play out before where we had a guy that, could be the next, long-term head coach. One of the biggest things for teams that are below 500 is coaching turnover.
Now, Stephen, of course, referencing, I think, Tim Skipper there with a guy who might have been there for the long term. Is that a legitimate concern?
And we saw it with Coach DeBoer, as mentioned. We didn't feel it because Coach Tedford was right here. He came and none of the players left. If you have a similar situation here and you don't have a Tedford, we're seeing right now, you could have it all over again. That's kind of just what college football is right now. You do know Coach Skipper, if he would have been able to get the job, probably would have stayed for a long time as long as he was welcomed. And unfortunately, this last season just didn't go quite well enough for him to get it. How
concerned should Garrett Classy, the Fresno State AD, be about that backlash?
Well, this program's got a lot of pride and tradition is the mantra, and it's built over decades, and Coach Skipper's been a part of pretty much each of those decades as a player in the 90s, and coach under Hill, coach under Tedford, had his own shot here, and so a lot of Bulldogs are impacted by Coach Skipper, and they're not too happy right now, but if the wins come, he doesn't have to worry about that too much. If the wins don't come, then you get a little bit of a told you so from the former Bulldogs.
Bowl game, right? Coming up. There's still a bowl game to play for Fresno State. We have seen a couple media reports out there that maybe Coach Skipper is going to actually coach the bowl game, which would be an extremely classy move if he decided to do that. What do you make of this bowl game, and what do you want to see for the Dogs? And will they have enough players to field a team?
Yeah, there's a lot of Bulldogs in the portal. Mikey Keene, the starting quarterback's out, and those guys typically don't play in bowl games. So a lot of fresh faces, a lot of young faces. You could get a quarterback who does so well, maybe Matt Entz doesn't have to go to the portal to get one. We just saw that with Hawaii when their backup freshman went off in the last week, and they're ready to go. So maybe some players step up with their opportunity and take some of the pressure off of the next roster rebuild here.
All right, in 5 seconds here, any of the current coaches like Skipper, J.D. Williams, Jethro Franklin, any of them have a chance to stay on staff?
I think J.D., I think Jethro would be great to stay on staff. Coach Entz is a defensive guy. He might have his own, but former Bulldogs that are successful would be nice to have around.
That's Jackson Moore. Get the inside scoop on Barkboard.com. Thanks for coming by, Jackson.
Thanks for having me.
All right, guys, back to you.